Let's be honest. There's a reason this topic is often spoken about in hushed tones rather than out loud. But if we're really going to talk about confidence, closeness, and attraction, we need to talk about this moment. The one where he's about to let go completely, and you're the one steering the moment. Here's the real deal. What most people assume is just a physical act is actually one of the strongest ways to create both emotional and physical intimacy. And when you approach it with real intention, you don't just please him physically. You leave a lasting imprint on his mind. You become the thought he can't shake, the one who sets a standard no one else meets, and the fantasy he comes back to long after everything else fades. Because this isn't about being overly sexual or copying something you saw in a video. It's about showing up fully, being present, being genuine. When you bring real confidence, playfulness, and emotional presence into this space, he won't just feel pleasure. He'll feel completely disarmed in the most beautiful way. So if you've ever wondered, how do I make this moment unforgettable? Or maybe, how do I stop second guessing myself and feel truly at ease when I'm with him like that? Then this is for you. Let's explore the ways you can use your mouth to not just finish him physically, but leave him speechless, breathless, and emotionally tethered to you every single time. Start with teasing him like you know you're the prize. One thing that completely transforms this experience is how you begin. And what many women don't realize is that before you even touch him, there's power in that space between intention and action. The anticipation is everything. You don't have to rush in. In fact, moving too fast can come off as anxious or unsure. It can send the message that you just want to get it over with. But taking your time, that shows power. It tells him you're in command of the moment, that he's the one who has to wait and wonder what's coming next. It tells him that his body is something you're curious about, something you want to enjoy, not just a task on a list. And when you bring that kind of energy, when your hands move slowly, your breath lingers just above his skin, when you kiss softly around his thighs, hips, and stomach, maybe even brushing against him without fully giving in, it becomes almost overwhelming in the best way. You're not just being tender, you're setting the rhythm. And that type of control, it makes him feel like he's being devoured by your energy. This kind of teasing is what most people skip because they're afraid of taking up too much space. But when you know your value, you lean into it. You don't just give him pleasure, you give him the feeling of being chosen. And that's what sets apart someone who's good from someone who leaves a lasting imprint on his memory. The tease is the foundation. It builds warmth slowly, and the longer you hold off, the more powerful it is. When he finally gets what he's been craving, his body won't just react, it will give in. Because you didn't just go through the motion, you commanded the moment. And that kind of power is what leaves him shaking and thinking about you long after. Now, don't overlook your eyes. They can express more than words ever will. There's something incredibly magnetic about a woman who isn't just doing something physical, but is entirely present in it. One of your most powerful tools in this space, your gaze. Let's be real, eye contact during something so intimate might feel awkward at first. You might even wonder, isn't that too intense? But here's the thing, intensity is exactly what makes it unforgettable. Because when you look up at him in a moment that's so raw, it catches him off guard in the best way. There's an instinctive reaction. He sees that you're not only aware of what you're doing, but that you're completely owning it. That image alone, it can drive him wild. But even more than that, it gives him something deeper, real connection. Most men aren't used to being seen in this way. A lot of the time, intimacy feels purely physical, sometimes even disconnected. But when you meet his eyes with confidence, desire, and a bit of playful mystery, it quiets the noise. It tells him he's safe, That you see all of him, not just his body, but his whole self. That you're not just giving something, but you actually want him. That kind of gaze touches a man in a place he rarely lets anyone reach. And no, you don't have to maintain eye contact the entire time. That's not what this is about. It's the small moments. The glance up while your lips move. The eye contact when you let out a breathy moan. The pause right before you try something new. Those moments sink the deepest. They're what linger in his thoughts. Want to take it even further? Pair that look with a tiny smile, not a wide grin, but a quiet, knowing smile that says, I know exactly what I'm doing to you. Because that smile tells him he's not just on the receiving end, he's giving you something too. And that kind of shared energy, that's what men crave, even if they don't have the words for it. It's never just about technique. It's about drawing him in emotionally. And when your eyes tell him, you're mine, he won't just be finished. He'll feel owned in the most intimate way. Let's also talk about switching things up, because rhythm, pressure, and variation matter more than people think. Here's the truth. A man's body and his emotions crave surprise. When things become too routine, even the best moments can lose their spark. But desire lives in the unexpected. Think of it like music. A song with one repetitive beat fades into the background. But when the tempo changes, speeds up, slows down, when there's a pause that holds you in suspense, that's when people really feel something. So how does this relate to using your mouth? Simple. Don't stick to just one rhythm. Maybe start off slow. Let your lips glide gently over him. Use your tongue to trace, circle, flick lightly. Then go a little deeper, a little faster. Then pull back and slow it all down again. Each change keeps his senses alive, keeps him completely focused on you. And that's what makes it powerful. Not just the motion, but the fact that you're steering it all with full intent. And don't forget your hands. They're an extension of everything you're giving. Use them in sync with your mouth. Try adding gentle pressure at the base, a soft twist. Hold him steady while you go light with your lips. The contrast between firm and delicate, it's addictive. It messes with his head and body all at once. Another little secret? Use your breath. Your breathing adds another layer. When you let warm air brush against him in between movements, it teases him without even touching. It builds tension. It heightens the moment. And that tension, that's what keeps the energy rising in all the right ways. The real magic isn't about going through steps like a routine. It's about leading the experience with presence, confidence, and care. It's the way you use your entire body, not just your mouth, not just your hands, but your energy, your attention, and your intention. That's what turns a physical act into an emotional imprint. Because when he finally reaches that edge, when he finally lets go, it won't feel like just a release. It'll feel like surrender. To you, to the moment, to the feeling of being fully seen, fully wanted, and completely taken over by a woman who knows her power. And that's what makes you unforgettable. You're not doing this just to get a reaction. You're creating an experience, one where he never quite knows what's coming next. And that's exactly why he's drawn in so deeply. As you start tuning into his reactions more closely, changing things up makes you feel more powerful too. You begin to recognize what makes him moan, what makes his breath pause, what makes his body instinctively move toward yours. That's when it hits you. It's not only about giving him pleasure. It's about exploring him, teasing, leading, and playing. You're making him feel things he didn't know he was capable of feeling. You're not just looking after him, you're uncovering him. And finally, when he reaches that edge where he can't hold back anymore, the release won't just be physical, it'll be emotional, it'll be mental. It'll come from everything you build through patience, presence, and intention. Because you didn't just give him a moment, you gave him a memory, and that's what stays with him. That's what makes you unforgettable. Pay attention to his reactions. They're the real instructions. So many people overthink this part. They wonder if they're doing it right, if he's really enjoying it, if they should try some bold new technique they read about or saw online. But here's what truly matters. When you're right there with him, the most real feedback doesn't come from some guidebook. It comes from him. Not from what he says, but from how his body responds. His reactions are the real map. Every breath he takes, every small movement in his hips, every soft sound that escapes him. It's all his body talking to you. That's what makes the difference between something that's just okay and something that completely undoes him in the most unforgettable way. The women who leave a lasting impression aren't using some magical trick. They're simply tuned in, responsive, natural. They move with feeling. When you're using your mouth to give him pleasure, just focus closely. You'll begin to notice little signs. How certain motions make his breathing deepen. How he lets out a quiet sound when you shift your angle, or how his thighs tighten when you slow down. That's his body saying, yes, that's it. And once you catch on to that signal, you've got the green light. Stay with it a little longer. Or, if you really want to build tension, pause right before he expects it. That sudden break in rhythm, that little bit of control, it sends waves through his entire body. It says, I'm here with you and I know exactly what I'm doing. That kind of presence doesn't just feel good, it makes him completely surrender. And keep in mind, many men rarely feel truly seen during intimacy. Sure, they're touched, but deeply understood? Not often. When you make that moment about both of you, when it becomes an unspoken exchange of energy, it softens him. It doesn't just turn him on, it opens him up. And that's when everything changes. That's when it becomes more than physical. That's when it becomes unforgettable. And this is also where your confidence starts to grow. When you stop performing and start feeling him, feeling your own power, you become magnetic. Suddenly you're not second guessing if it's working because you can see it, hear it, feel it. The way his breath catches, the way his fingers clutch the sheets, the way his whole body moves toward you. That's all the confirmation you need. And when you're that in tune, there's no need to overthink. You're not stuck in your mind trying to remember steps. You're flowing. And that flow makes you not only more sensual, it makes you unforgettable. That's what separates one moment from the next. It's not about how fancy or complicated it looks. It's about the energy behind it, the intention, the focus. He'll leave thinking, I've never felt anything like that before, and he won't even fully understand why. He can't stop thinking about you. It's because you didn't just do something to him. You moved with him, listened to him, felt him. And that kind of experience doesn't just disappear. It lingers. So the next time you're in that space with him, be there. Don't overanalyze. Just tune in to his body, to the energy between you. It will show you everything he craves. And when you meet that with calm confidence, that's when he fully lets go into the moment. Now let's talk about your voice. What you say in those moments, how you say it, that's a secret power most people overlook. If there's one thing that can turn a heated moment into something emotionally unforgettable, it's your words. Not rehearsed or dramatic, but real, honest, intentional. Because what you say and the way you say it can unlock something in him he didn't even know he needed. And most men won't say it out loud, but in those moments, they're craving emotional closeness. They want to feel chosen, strong, wanted. And when a woman speaks with presence, it doesn't just excite him, it reaches something deeper. That doesn't mean you have to act or force a sultry tone. In fact, what's most powerful is when you're simply natural, just more intentional. Speak softly. Whisper near his ear. Let your words be filled with real warmth, real curiosity, and a steady heat. You don't have to say anything elaborate. Something as simple as, "You feel so good," or "I love watching you let go for me," can hit harder than anything rehearsed, because you're not performing, you're leading, you're inviting, you're reminding him. This isn't just about doing something for him, it's about enjoying something with him. And that shifts the entire moment. Suddenly, it's not about him receiving pleasure, it's about the pleasure he gives you just by surrendering. And that for a man is incredibly fulfilling. And what does that do for you? It draws you deeper into your own strength. When you speak in those intimate moments, even just a breathy sound or a playful suggestion, you guide the energy. It brings you into the now. It pulls you out of your mind and into your body. And the more open and expressive you are, the more he responds. Try mixing it up. Whisper something bold when he least expects it. Gently ask him to stay still while you take over. Ask him, "Do you like that?" Or, "What do you want now?" Not because you're unsure, but because you want to hear his honesty, his openness. You want to see him drop his guard. In that kind of invitation, most men don't get it. So when they do, it hits hard in the best way. And here's the real secret. It's not about being loud or wild. It's about being connected to what you want and letting that flow through your voice. The more aware you are of your own pleasure, the more powerful it is for him to hear it. There's nothing more attractive to a man than a woman who owns her pleasure and invites his. Even something as simple as "Don't stop" or "Let go for me," whispered right when he's close, that can be the final push he needs. Because your words don't just touch his body, they reach his mind. And when his mind and body come undone at the same time, it's not just a release, it's a full body wave. He doesn't just climax, he melts. So don't hold back your voice. Use it like music, something that rises and softens with the moment. Let it draw him in. Let it rattle his control. Let it make him feel that what's happening between you isn't just physical, it's deeply personal. Because when your mouth brings not just touch, but truth, words that speak to his heart, his pride, his senses, you don't just make him feel good, you make him feel seen. You make him remember you, and that is unforgettable. You leave a mark on him. You become the example he silently measures everything else against. And in the most beautiful, quiet way, you make it hard for him to fully feel someone else again. And then, don't hurry the ending. This is the part so many people miss. They treat the final moments like the closing credits of a movie. Fade to black, clean up, move along. But if you truly want to give him something that lingers, something he feels not just in his mind but in his body, long after, this is where you slow everything down even more. Because here's what most don't understand. After a man finishes, he's wide open. His body has let go, his breath is heavy, his heart races, and all the walls he usually keeps up drop. That moment, that soft and raw space, says more about the bond between you than any words ever could. Still, so many women pull away too fast. Maybe it's to avoid feeling awkward, maybe it's from not knowing what to do next. But when you stay, when you hold him gently, when your hand rests on his chest, when you brush his hair back or kiss his shoulder, when you simply stay close, it says something strong and clear. It tells his whole body, you're okay, you're seen, I haven't left. And that leaves an imprint. That simple emotional feeling is what turns something physical into something deep and meaningful. You're not just finishing a chapter, you're sealing something sacred. That calm, steady presence, even after the fire has quieted down, is what changes the memory in his mind from "that was good" to "I've never felt anything like that before." And you don't even have to say a word. Sometimes a soft breath, a quiet glance, a slight smile, or your hand still resting gently on his skin will speak louder than anything else ever could. It makes him feel not just satisfied, but cared for, held. Here's something rarely said out loud. Men need this too. They might show up in the world looking strong, composed, always in control. But deep inside, there's a desire for a safe place to fully let go. And if you can be that for him, not just in a physical way, but emotionally, you give him something rare, something he might not even have the words to explain.